Lately, I received feedback that the Malay families since last 2 years was not successful in their BTO application. Can you consider to do away with the quota policy? Furthermore, the fact for improvement is in our daily life in Singapore is no longer the integration of races, but rather more between local with the foreigners. Thank you, sir.
On BTO, that sometimes the Malays hit the limit and then they have to apply again, I don't think that is being unfair to Malays. I think that can happen to any community. I have often had Chinese come to me to say, please, I want a flat in this block. I know there are empty flats down there, but they tell me it's reserved for Malays or reserved for Indians because the quota is met. And I know many Indians who bump against the limits for the quotas, either when they want to buy a flat and they can't get the flat, or very often when they want to sell a flat and they can't sell. Because it's not so easy to find another Indian to want to go and buy that particular flat. So it applies to all of the communities. But I think it is necessary for us, even today, to have rules to say certain percentage must have a mix, Chinese, Malays, Indians. Because if we don't have a mix, I can tell you within 5 years, definitely within 10 years, you will have different parts of Singapore, some parts Malayu, some parts Indian, some parts Chinese, and it will be a different, very different Singapore. Today we all live mixed together. The schools are integrated. The hawker centers, you can eat all sorts of food. Nearly every hawker center has got Muslim stalls. If we separate out like that, I think it will be big problems. Foreigners, immigrants, we have to manage also. So therefore, we also have a quota on PRs. So that you cannot have one block, all PRs in HDB, and you have citizens, and then you have the PRs, and a certain percentage only of the PRs are allowed. So we have to manage that also. But that doesn't mean we don't have to manage the ethnic mix in our constituencies, in our housing estates.
On page 93 of the report that AMP has put together, this whole notion on the self-defeatist vision of academic success that is within the community of Malay students and learners. Is it a cultural thing, from your 2 cents worth, that the community lacks that hunger amongst the youths, amongst the students that I teach, amongst the children that we have even? And how would you say we can then instill this very intricate thing of hunger within the community? That's my question. Thank you very much.
How to make people hungry? You ask an elected government to make people hungry? I think that's very difficult. But it is a fact that some people are hungry, some people are not so hungry. And Singaporeans, we are generally hungry, but I think if you look at the Chinese, they're hungrier. If you look at the Vietnamese, they're even hungrier. It's a fact. I mean, they are poor, they are very anxious to get ahead, they are ambitious, and they are prepared to slog away, and they forget about work-life balance. But that is important to them. They want to get ahead. In Singapore, we also want to get ahead, but we also have other considerations we want to manage. Between different ethnic groups, I'm not sure whether the difference is hunger. I think the difference is that with some of the lower educated families, they don't appreciate how important it is for their children to be well educated, and they haven't got the children imbued with the right culture and motivation to go and take it very seriously. You must go to school. You may feel a little bit sick today, but you go anyway. If you're really sick, you can go into the sick bay. We may or may not be hungry, but I know that we spend a lot of time on tuition. And I think many Malay families also now spend a lot of time and energy on tuition. When the parents want the kids to do well and they can't quite catch up with the schoolwork themselves because the new schoolwork is different from the old schoolwork, then they send their kids to tuition. So in a way, it's a good sign that the attitudes are converging. But I hope that it doesn't go too far and you end up with Malay families also obsessed with tuition, and then the kid gets stressed out for nothing.
Okay, something interesting that was brought up by the chairman of the Convention Steering Committee. He talked about nurturing, actually, IT students to direct them in the right profession. So, because the Malay community is overrepresented in the ITEs. And to direct them to the right profession, actually, there is this very big, huge opportunities in the SAF, especially the Air Force, the Navy, and also the various support vocations like armored, engineers, combat engineers, artilleries, and so on. And it is not a hidden secret here, actually, that there are policies related to the military in terms of ethnic participation. So you made some speeches last time in Parliament, and Mr. Lee Kuan Yew also made some speeches, and he never hid his intention, his feelings. But what I'm asking now, when is the government going to remove this ethnic-based policy in the military so that these students from ITE, can gain training and experience in the SAF, which is very rich, spent $12 billion, last year. And we Malay taxpayers want to see that we get the benefit out of that, paying our tax as well. So what's your decision on whether there's a timeline? We thought that it's supposed to be abolished by now, and we should give them equal opportunities so that these people can be part of the defense of the nations, and be proud being a Singaporean. Thank you.
This is a question which is asked regularly, and recently in Parliament in the budget, I think the Minister of Defense gave a reply again and explained that in SAF they work on the basis of meritocracy. They assess each officer and each soldier on his abilities and his contributions, and they post him where he is best able to make a contribution. And that will continue. Not all the units are the same. Different units have different requirements, but every soldier is assessed, and whether he can become a commander, whether he can become an officer, is completely on merit. Where he is posted depends on where he is most able to be deployable. I think the ITE issue is a different one. The ITE students are given a good education in often technical subjects. There's no shortage of jobs, whether in the SAF or in the general economy, where they can make a contribution and make use of those skills. And I think what we need to do is to guide them, encourage them to do well in the ITE, and when they come out, to take up jobs which use those skills which they have acquired. Because quite often, I think when people come out from ITE, they go on to do things which may have not a lot of relationship to the skills which they have been given, whether it's IT, whether it's electronics, whether it's machine tools. But they come out and they may go into some unskilled job, or they may go into some white-collar job, or they may end up selling houses or selling insurance. And then it's wasted. So I think that the ITE problem, or the ITE issue, I think we can do things for it. The SAF, you understand our situation and how we are treating it, and this is something which is moving. And you can see SAF Malay officers and specialists doing better year by year. Every year you see people promoted, colonels, majors. You see people in many units. And I think every one of them, if you talk to them, you say, well, I'm here because of my merits, not because I'm a Malay or not a Malay.